All right, cool. Is this recording for posterity?
Posterity and YouTube.
Excellent. That's the way. Cool. So I just wanted to talk about WebUSB. My name's Nick. I've been involved in this group for quite some time now, and MicroPython on and off for quite some time. I want to talk about WebUSB because I think it's really exciting. It's a bit of a new way of interfacing to MicroPython. WebUSB is basically a way of saying, if only your websites could talk directly to USB devices when you plug them into your computer. And that obviously seems like an extremely bad idea, which is why people had to make it very, very complicated about how you get a person to say, yes, I want a website to talk to my USB device. You have to have all sorts of permissions and user actions and all of that sort of stuff to say, yeah, go ahead. Otherwise you'd have random websites stealing your keyboard, which would turn out badly. So WebUSB is this kind of fairly complicated way to skin that particular cat. At the moment it only really works in Chrome as far as I know. It's meant to be being standardized, but the standard is a little bit all over the place, but it does work. So what you do basically is you have the device hands over a descriptor to the operating system that says what kind of device it is, and it can say, I'm this kind of device, and here is a URL that is important to me. And if Chrome happens to be running, when you plug the device in, it sees that message come through, and it says, would you like to go to this page? A little announcement pops up in the bottom of the screen. It says, would you like to jump straight to this page? Save yourself a whole lot of effort. At which point you can click on that little box, it'll open in the browser, and now the page that you've loaded can actually communicate back and forth to the USB device by sending packets back and forth. And if you program it right, you can make that into like a console, so that we can talk directly to the MicroPython REPL over USB. So there's no network required, there's no serial port in this thing anywhere. There's no one had to define a dev TTY USB or a COM anything and go chasing that around. No one had to install a driver, which is even better. Instead you're talking directly to the USB stack on the device. That kind of deals with the biggest problem I've ever had in trying to get beginners into MicroPython, which is that you come in bright-eyed, excited, day one, and you go, oh great, so what's this? You know, I have to install this driver, and I have to do this, and for some reason it's now COM17, it was COM16 a minute ago, oh no, it's COM18. You know, all of those weird Windows and Mac configuration issues just disappear because you just plug the device in and it works. So the thing that I set up on the other end of that connection is basically just a really dumb terminal. It's just the REPL, and it's in a little window here. You plug it in, you connect it, and you can type straight into the REPL. That's fairly boring, but at least it gets you around the whole how do I connect thing. Now, anyone who's familiar with Visual Studio might realize it's basically a web app itself. It's cunningly disguised as an application, but it's really just in Electron. So the fact that all I've got at the moment is a really bad looking REPL shouldn't put you off this whole idea of WebUSB. You could have a proper full-featured IDE sitting there chatting back and forth to the REPL, just like all the tools we know and love do. Just as a bit of a demo of that, I've added in like a file uploader to this thing. So now you can plug in, upload files. Theoretically you could download files if I added a button for that. In the end, you should be able to get to the point where the instructions aren't pick your favorite text editor, they're just plug it in and click on the really obvious announcement, and bingo, there's lesson one. Anyway, I'm really excited about that. It's something that I'm hoping to merge into main MicroPython soonish, or at least PR soonish. It's applicable to pretty much any of the ports that have a tiny USB stack running on them. So this particular one is on an RPi Pico, but other platforms also have the same kind of thing. Really any of the ones that don't have a serial converter between the CPU and the computer, it's applicable to. So there's quite a few of those. The alternative there is I guess to do things like the file system mount approach that a lot of boards do, where it appears as a mass storage device, you write files in and out. And that's cool too, but it doesn't give you that interactive REPL goodness. And I think there's a huge amount of benefit, especially for beginners, in having that REPL right there. It's really exciting to do that whole machine.pin on, machine.pin off, and oh look, the LED goes on and off, and it's really great that you can take someone from absolutely nothing to blinking an LED in 5 minutes, and they can edit stuff from there and all of that. So associated with that, I just wanted to talk about a thing called WebPad, which is a thing I threw together a couple of years ago, which is in a different little window over here. Well, you can really see it anyway. Basically, what I've got with that is a system a bit like the REPL, a bit like IPython or Jupyter, but for MicroPython. So you can put in little blocks of expressions, and they get executed when you change them, and the output gets generated, and you can build them up, and you can build up functions, and you can run the functions later, and all of that sort of stuff. So it gives you an interactive environment. It's kind of halfway between an editor and the REPL, and you can then take that code and save it as main.py or whatever, so that you can then come back and edit it again later. So I think that's really exciting, and that would play really nicely with this WebUSB concept. That's about all I wanted to talk about. It's a thing I'm really excited about, and I'd love to get feedback from everyone about it. I know a lot of people here who are very enthusiastic about MicroPython, so I'd love to get feedback on what you think about it and how you find it. And yeah, for anyone who's watching this on YouTube, nick.zoic.org, and search around on there and you'll find it. Cool, thanks very much.